Welcome to Question of the Day. Today's question is very simple. What are the top myths, 11 myths, about emotions that are holding you back both personally and professionally? As an EQ evangelist, I definitely am out there talking about the importance of emotional intelligence. And yesterday we talked about what is emotional intelligence. And today I want to talk about the myths that really contribute to what I would refer to as emotional ignorance, right? So those myths are simple. First one is the biggest one I hear, that emotions don't belong in the workplace. They have no place in the workplace. And unfortunately, that is the single biggest myth out there. And it also is the number one reason why there are so many employee issues and boss issues. See, 68% of people quit their job because of their manager and supervisor, not because of the work they're actually doing. They could do the same thing for somebody else as long as they don't got to work for that guy or that gal, right? And most of the time it's because they're not paying attention to their own emotions and the impact it has on themselves, but also the emotions it's having on other people. And so the reality is research and neuroscientists really have dispelled this one simply by proving that all decisions that we make are emotional decisions, right? Every decision we make is emotional because it goes through a certain part of our brain, the limbic system part of our brain, which is the emotional part of our brain, before it ever gets to any of the cognitive processes, right? And they discovered this after they had a patient who was had a brain injury in just that part of the brain that affected emotions. They were able to they were able to think clearly about other things, but when it came to decision making, this person couldn't actually decide what they were going to have for breakfast, right? Because the reality is, a lot of times we decide, like, what do I feel like today? What do I feel like having? And what sounds good to us? And at the bottom, at the core of us, our decisions are emotional decisions, and we justify them rationally, right? We justify them with other logic. But let me just go through the myths quickly. And if you have some more comments or things that you want to know more about, please write in the comment below and I'll answer. But emotions don't belong in the workplace is the single biggest myth that I hear all the time. And it's also why there's so many challenges in the workplace, because if they believe that, then they also don't know how to handle when somebody does have emotions in the workplace. And yet we also want passionate people to come and work for us. If you're going to build a culture built on passionate people, then you also have to understand its role in the workplace and what that is, what the value of it is. The second one is I should feel differently. Whenever you do have an emotion reaction to something, the reaction that I should feel differently or somebody else should feel differently is a huge myth, right? You feel how you feel. The problem is, if we don't manage it well, if we don't know what to do with those feelings or those emotions, that's where the issue is. It's not that we shouldn't feel a certain way. It's that we don't know how to manage it properly. And so the third one is I can't control how I feel, right? And while you might not be able to control how you feel, you can control your response to that. You can regulate your emotions and how you feel, and you can regulate the impact, right? So emotion has depth to it and it has intensity. So the amount of intensity that you feel and the amount of intensity that you show can be different, right? The amount of intensity that others show and how you match or respond to that dramatically will impact your interaction with people as well, right? So let's go on to number 4 here. And number 4 is venting or simply just ignoring how I feel will make me feel better, right? As long as I don't acknowledge my emotions, as long as I don't pay attention to them, or if I just vent and like emotionally vomit on the people around me, I will feel so much better. And guys, while that may be true that you may feel better after you emotionally vomit on somebody else, it just leaves everybody else feeling icky and not knowing what to do with that, right? And so anytime we have these extreme options like all or nothing, right? Or I vent and let all my emotions show, or I ignore all my emotions, that'll make me feel better. It really kind of leads us into this other myth that's very common of going the wrong way here. So trying to control my emotions, right? is this is where people go to the flip side, right? Trying to control my emotions is synonymous with me behaving like a robot, right? You can't control emotions. I can't control what I feel. I feel what I feel, and I'm just going to show it. Guys, that there is a happy medium in there. There is a way to be intelligent about your emotions, again, without showing all of them and emotionally vomiting on everybody else, or shutting them all down and acting like a robot. There's enough AI stuff happening out there. We don't need people acting like robots more than we need, robots to start, acting more human, which I guess that's one thing they're trying to do. But just because they mimic us doesn't mean we have to try to mimic them, right? So we look at number 6, other people have power to make me feel certain emotions. Now, the interesting thing is this myth gets some pushback often when I teach this in trainings. They're like, well, that's not true. I don't allow other people to control, or I don't give them power how I feel. Yet at the same time, so many times in one-on-one coaching sessions, I'll hear somebody say, Sean, I was in a really good mood on the way to work today until somebody cut me off on the freeway. They cut me off on the freeway and, almost hit my car. They were weaving in and out of traffic, and it just upset me so much. They just made me so angry. I just wanted to run them off the road. And I said, wow, so, how long ago was that? And they're like, that was 4 hours ago. But man, just telling you about it makes me feel like I'm right there right now. Well, so here's this person who cut you off on the freeway and may almost have hit you, but didn't actually hit you, right? And yet you've given them all of this power to make you feel a certain way throughout the day. Yet when I ask you, do other people have control over how you feel? Do you give away power to them? And they're like, no, I don't. But yet you've allowed some stranger that you'll never see again, even though there's a good chance you're not going to see him tomorrow on the freeway either, right? To ruin your day, right? And we can't allow other people to ruin our day. We can't give them that much power or that much influence in our day. And we need to be able to brush that off, be a little bit of Teflon in that sense, right? And that's their problem. That's their challenge. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to make us feel a certain way. We choose how we're going to respond to the people around us. And we choose how we're going to show emotion and passion. You can still be upset about something without it ruining your day, right? But let's not give away the power that we have. If you do, you're buying into this myth that really is going to hold you back both personally and professionally. All right. 7, I can't handle uncomfortable emotions, right? This is why people will opt for one of these previous myths, right? Well, I don't do well with emotions. And certainly there's certain emotions, like when people are upset or people are crying, like I don't know how to handle it. I just walk away. And that's unfortunate because you're also missing a huge opportunity to connect with the people around you and to understand and show empathy. And if you aren't able to show empathy to the people around you, then they're going to think that you don't care about them, right? As a person, a worker, a team member, a boss, a direct report, a peer, whatever. The reason we don't know how to handle uncomfortable emotions is because we're not intelligent about it. We're not realizing that that's how they feel, and we can show empathy to that we don't have to take on that emotion. We don't have to be as uncomfortable or show the same emotion they are. And therefore we don't have to ignore it. People ignore and are uncomfortable around situations in which they're not competent and they're not trained and they're not confident about how to handle that. And the best way to do that is to raise your emotional intelligence, not only for yourself, but also be able to be better at managing the people around you when they start to show emotion, which they're going to do because they're emotional people. 8, negative emotions are always bad. This is a huge myth that sadness and anger, for example, 2 of the primary emotions, that sadness is always bad. You should never be sad. You should always be happy. And that, you should never be angry. And that's not true, right? Both of those emotions, sadness and anger, both have a role and they have value, right? That doesn't mean we want to go around being sad or angry all the time, but they in themselves are not bad. Here's what's bad typically in those emotions. It's the manner in which we behave, right? in that. And it's our ability to be intelligent and recognize what sadness looks like and what anger looks like in ourselves before it gets to a point where it boils over to other people or affects other people, or that we're so shut down about talking about our emotions that we're not able to communicate with the people around us and let them know that they were sad. I mean, think about this. In the last year, how many times have you watched a news story about somebody who maybe went postal in a workplace, right? And they went postal because they were so frustrated, they were so upset, they were so mad, or they were so sad, and nobody knew it. Nobody knew what they were going through because they didn't share it, or because people saw that, like, the person always kept to themselves, they never talked to anybody, and or maybe they were so helpful for other people, but they never really shared anything about themselves, right? And those stories, it's only after the fact that we find out how sad they were or how angry they really were. They weren't just disappointed and upset. They were actually angry about something. And when people don't feel heard or understood, they tend to go to extremes. They either continue to tell their story to people until they hear it, or unfortunately, some people, they either push to silence or they go to violence, right? Sometimes that violence is deadly. Sometimes that violence is just like super angry and slamming down something on their desk. But either way, we have to pay attention to what those emotions are telling us so that we can be intelligent about how to respond to them. So we don't get caught up in, this irk cycle, this emotional reaction cycle, which I'll talk about in another time, and of just ping-ponging back and forth with people and how they're feeling, and now how that makes me feel, and going and not actually solve anything. You just end up on this circle that's not helpful at all. All right. Let's go to number 9 here. Showing emotion is a sign of weakness. Now, as a leadership coach, I work with a lot of leaders, C-level people, managers, maybe even new managers and supervisors for the first time. And they are often told you can't show emotion. Showing emotion is weak. Okay. I want to be able to see you when I say this. Like, absolutely a myth. Okay. Showing emotion is not weak. Showing emotion is vulnerable, but not weakness, right? And being vulnerable and open and honest with people intelligently, again, doesn't mean we pour our hearts out. We tell them about everything it is. If you're a first-time leader, you certainly don't want to go out and say, hey guys, I just want you to know I have no idea what I'm doing here. I don't even know how I got the job. I'm amazed every day you guys keep me, I'm clueless. I'm winging it. I'm not saying say that at all, right? That would be career suicide. That's not being emotionally intelligent at all about it. And that's not even being smartly vulnerable about it. Showing emotion and passion and concern, and that something impacts you and that you can relate to how something impacts somebody else is provides a human connection, provides an opportunity for you to show emotion and for other people to be able to connect with you as a boss and leader. For you to be able to share that and show that is not weakness. It's strength. And only strong leaders are able to do that. Leaders that are confident about who they are and are intelligent about their emotions are able to do that in a manner that allows you to remain professional. It allows you to remain in integrity with your position and your role without violating anything. It just allows you to be real and to be a person. And so often the disconnect between leaders and the people they lead is that person doesn't even seem like they care anymore. And I know too many people, CEOs and C-level C-suite people, that will often say, well, I don't want to know who these people are. I don't want to know their story because I might have to fire them one day. I may have to reduce headcount. These are all terms that people use. When I speak to CFOs and I speak to other groups, they try to use terms like headcount and anything except for people, right? But they're people. They have real emotions. They're going to be upset if they get fired or let go, or you have to downsize, right? But also the companies that do that well are also very open and honest with them about what's happening, right? They don't try to sugarcoat. They don't try to hide around data and numbers. They connect with people as people. and they do that effectively. And as a result of that, they are able to also leave that company with the respect of the people around them. And so that often is much more important than simply just keeping a distance and never connecting with your people. Those are not effective leaders, in my opinion. All right. So as we look at number 10 here, getting close to the end, others shouldn't feel that way. All right. My number one rule, stop shooting on people and stop letting other people shoot on you. Right. I probably should have said that earlier, number 2, but stop shooting on people and stop letting other people shoot on you. Right. They shouldn't feel that way. It's not personal. It's just business. Well, to them, it's personal because they have to go home and explain something. For them, it is personal. Or they shouldn't be upset about that because I didn't mean to hurt their feelings when I, yelled and embarrassed them in front of their entire colleagues. We don't have any right? We don't have any right as leaders to tell somebody else how they feel. As leaders, we have a responsibility to model how to be intelligent about our emotions, how to share them and show them to people without belittling, shaming them, degrading them, and then turn around and telling them how they're supposed to feel, right? They feel what they feel. Now they need to handle it intelligently, but we have no business ever telling somebody else how they should or shouldn't feel. And we certainly have no business, I believe, shooting on people at all. All right, so let's look at the last one, right? The last myth is, the last myth here is, I don't need to care about how others feel about working with me, right? They don't like it, they don't like it. I hear people say this all the time with a bunch of vibrato, like, I don't care what people say, I don't care what they feel, they're gonna have to deal with it and live with it. You know what? Here's the interesting thing. Those same people are often upset because nobody cares about how they feel, but they expect not to care about how other people feel, right? People will treat you with the same level of respect, right, that you show them, right? When you show them that you care about how they feel, and they're going to show the same respect. They're going to say, hey, we care about how you feel. And that doesn't mean, again, that we're emotionally vomiting on everyone around us. And just to make ourselves feel better, or we're inviting that, it's just going to be mass chaos, right? Too many times we hear people just kind of, do the all or nothing theory, and they simply, well, I can't have everybody like, crying all the time on the work floor. It's like, well, I agree that wouldn't be very productive, but I also don't think that your people would do that, right? Nor do they think they would do that. But we do need to treat people like they're human. We do need to teach people that emotions have value, because it's that emotion that drives them not only to being creative and innovative and to have great relationships, but it also drives how we learn, right? When we tie emotions to things, we remember things better. That's why you know where you were on 9/11. That's why you know where you were the day that your mom or dad passed away, if they're away. That's where you remember what it was like when your child was born, right? You remember those days because they're connected to emotions. So emotion has power, it has depth, it has information if we're paying attention. If we're not, we won't not only not be emotionally intelligent, we're going to stay emotionally ignorant. And we're going to raise and develop other emotionally ignorant people. And that is not a future that I want to help build. Look at these myths. Look at one of the myths that you have bought into, and start to question that myth and find out what is true. Like, I'm not going to give away my emotion, the power of my emotions to other people. I want to be intelligent about this. How do I do that? Definitely would love to help you with that. If you want any more information, you can go to my website or contact me right below. I would love to talk with you and share with you how I help other people be emotionally intelligent and create a better workplace. All right. You guys have a great evening. I will talk to you soon. Bye.